Tonight on Steelers Talk, I've got the latest Steelers coaching staff updates as Mike McCarthy continues to fill out his coaching staff here in Pittsburgh. Then Trevon Diggs is a free agent. Should the Pittsburgh Steelers consider bringing him in? Because they just hired their new secondaries coach, who worked with Trevon Diggs and helped make him an All-Pro in Dallas. Could those two reunite here in Pittsburgh? Then we'll get to Aaron Rodgers. And now during Super Bowl week, here we go again, folks. People are starting to link Aaron Rodgers to the Minnesota Vikings again. Is there any truth to the rumors? Could Rodgers end up in Minnesota with his old pal, Kevin O'Connell? I'll answer that question at the end of today's show, so make sure you guys stick around. But before we get into the content today, make sure you guys click that subscribe button because we're going to have you covered with extensive Steelers content all throughout the offseason here. The latest news, rumors, and reports surrounding Aaron Rodgers and the coaching staff and free agency and the draft and all that great stuff. Whenever we get a trade rumor, we're going to let you guys know. Whenever there's a draft prospect that the Steelers are honing in on and they're meeting with at the combine or a pre-draft visit, we're going to let you guys know. All right, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already and join the over 115,000 subscribers that have already joined us here on Steelers Talk. And make sure you guys click that subscribe button to never miss any of our free videos that we provide for you guys right here on YouTube. All right, so now let's get into the news and rumors of the day, starting with our new offensive coordinator, Brian Angelichio, coming over from the Minnesota Vikings. He was the pass game coordinator over there, and apparently he turned down quite a bit of money from the Vikings organization to come be our offensive coordinator. So the fact that he wants to be here, the fact that he turned down a lot of dough to come over here, I think speaks volumes about the type of person that he is and the type of person that he wants to be here in Pittsburgh. And Mark Kaboly, Pat McAfee show correspondent for the Steelers, says that Angelichio was Mike McCarthy's top choice for the offensive coordinator spot, even over Scott Tolzien, the Saints quarterbacks coach. This is what Kaboly had to say about what the Steelers loved about Angelichio's profile. What they were looking for really was what they're going to end up getting in Angelichio. It was a guy that was a right-hand man of Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota for 4 years. And then alongside that, Jeremy Fowler from ESPN says that the Vikings made a strong push to keep Angelichio a key Kevin O'Connell assistant the last 4 years. In the end, he becomes a coordinator in Pittsburgh. It's his first opportunity to be an offensive coordinator in his 14-year NFL career. Now, you might be saying at home, but Jack, Mike McCarthy is calling plays here in Pittsburgh. Why does it matter who he hires as the offensive coordinator? He's essentially a glorified water boy or an errand boy or whatever you guys want to call it. But I just don't see this as the case necessarily, okay? I think McCarthy is hiring this guy to provide input to the Steelers offense. And just because Angelichio won't be calling plays doesn't mean that he's not going to have, ideas that he's going to be implementing into the offense, or that McCarthy's going to say, go get my coffee or something like that. It's not what his job is going to be. He's going to provide value not only on a daily basis, but also on a weekly basis for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. And he's going to have a number of responsibilities as the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's just not going to be calling the plays on Sundays. He's going to install the offense during the offseason. Mike McCarthy, as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, is an incredibly busy man with a lot of things to worry about. Angelichio is going to be running the offensive install meetings during the offseason as well as during the weeks. He's also going to lead the offensive meetings on a daily basis whenever Mike McCarthy is busy doing other things. He's going to be the one kind of keeping the ship afloat and keeping the train rolling when McCarthy has other things to worry about. Also, he's going to help McCarthy with the weekly game plan. He has helped Kevin O'Connell with the weekly game plan in Minnesota, and apparently he's so good at it that Kevin O'Connell didn't want him to leave. So that is a big part of the job. Also, he's going to provide a different viewpoint of the game, because my guess is he's going to be up in the box, in the coach's box, as opposed to on the field. So he's going to be able to see that the game play out with that bird's eye view. He's going to be able to see what the defense is trying to do, and he's going to be able to provide that extra insight to Mike McCarthy, who is on the sideline and doesn't get that same vantage point during the game itself. Also, a big part of that is going to be identifying coverage trends from the opposing defense, and along with that, weaknesses that Mike McCarthy can then turn to exploit. So that's going to be a big part of his job as the offensive coordinator. He's also going to be coordinating personnel substitution. So when Mike wants a certain personnel out there, it's going to be his job to make sure the individual coaches have their guys ready to go. Then also he's going to be coaching the tight ends room every single day, because he's also also got the title of tight ends coach here in Pittsburgh. And what I love about Angelichio and this hire, guys, is everyone in the NFL generally runs the same kinds of passing concepts, and everyone runs flood and everyone runs dagger and all these different things, but it's more about how you dress it up. And really what differentiates a Kyle Shanahan and a Ben Johnson and these guys is that they get creative with the ways that they dress up these concepts and the way that they put certain players in certain spots. And I think Angelichio, along with Kevin O'Connell, are guys that have done that in Minnesota over the last several years, whether it's using Justin Jefferson in the backfield or creative ways to use motion or whatever that is. I think Angelichio brings a lot of that to the table here from Minnesota. I think it's going to make the Steelers offense and Mike McCarthy's offense more modern as we head into the 2026 season. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Grade the hire of Brian Angelichio as the next offensive coordinator of the Black and Gold. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F down there in the comments section. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today. When I tell you about today's sponsor, give me a letter grade down there in the comments section. I want to let you guys know that we do have Valentine's Day merch on our website right now. I put my link down there in the comments and description of today's show if you guys want to check out our Married Into This collection just in time for Valentine's Day. I worked really hard with our design team here at Chat Sports to come up with this collection just in time for Valentine's Day. So if you want something to get your sweetheart, your special someone that married into Steelers and Yinzer culture, you guys can get one of our unisex sweatshirts, either coming in black with gold lettering or white with steel lettering here. Also, we have T-shirts available, so if your wife is more of a T-shirt girly and wants to wear this out to Latrobe when it's hot during the summer at Steelers training camp, you can certainly make that happen as well. Not to mention the T-shirt is less expensive, so if you're looking to spend a little bit less money, you guys can go with the T-shirt option. This is what it looks like here as well. Super comfortable materials, and by the way, the sweatshirts are unisex, so if you want to wear the sweatshirt around yourself, you are more than welcome to do so as well if you are a fella. But guys, if this does well and we can get a lot of sales to this stuff, that's going to show our bosses that we can really push merch here on Steelers Talk, and we can do some really fun things for you guys once we get to St. Patrick's Day, which is coming up here soon, the 4th of July, the NFL Draft, whenever the Steelers bring in new players. We can do a lot of fun merch stuff if this does well, guys. So if you haven't gotten your special someone something yet, or you want to get them something extra as well, my link is down there in the comments and description of today's show to get your Married Into This gear from us here at Steelers Talk today. All right, so now another solid hire, in my opinion, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, as they have now hired former Commanders defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. as their secondaries coach. So he's going to be working with the cornerbacks and the safeties under defensive coordinator Patrick Graham here in Pittsburgh. And Witt has been a McCarthy guy for a very long time. Going back to Green Bay, longtime assistant under McCarthy there. Then he followed him to Dallas, where he was the cornerbacks coach there. And he's known as a very good developer of cornerback talent, and in particular, getting the most out of these guys in terms of interception production. All right, like these guys tend to turn into ball hawks. Guys like Trevon Diggs and Deron Bland, and now he's got a chance to work with a guy like Joey Porter Jr. with his go-go gadget long arms. Are you kidding me? I think that this is going to be a great fit. He's known as a really good secondary coach, and he's been that way for a very long time. There's a reason why he got the defensive coordinator opportunity there in Washington. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for Witt, but he's always been a good position coach, so I think this is a really good hire for Mike McCarthy. It's also worth noting that Witt is going to be the assistant head coach, and he definitely has a presence about him. If you've never seen a press conference of Joe Witt Jr., I recommend you check it out, because this guy certainly has a presence to him and a way with words, which I think lends credence to him being the assistant head coach under Mike McCarthy here in Pittsburgh. Also, Joe Witt Jr. worked very closely with Jason Simmons, who's also going to be working with the secondary here in Pittsburgh. Simmons also worked with Patrick Graham in Las Vegas. So, that's certainly something to keep your eye on here, is that everybody's kind of intertwined together, and these guys are going to be on the same page quite well that I'm looking forward to here moving forward. Then we get to the defensive line coaches here and outside linebackers coaches that have been hired. DeMonte Pecco, a very well-respected former defensive lineman for Cincinnati for many years, is now the new defensive line coach. CJ Ayu, who just came over from Texas Tech. He's very well-respected outside linebackers coach for the Red Raiders, helped develop David Bailey, one of the top outside linebacker prospects in the draft this year. He is our new outside linebackers coach here in Pittsburgh. Really excited about that hire in particular. And then Sean Howe coming over from Montana State. He's likely going to be the assistant outside linebackers coach here in Pittsburgh. And then also, I would say keep your eye on Sharif Floyd for assistant D-line coach. He just got let go from the Commanders as their assistant D-line coach. He worked for McCarthy as the assistant D-line coach in Dallas for a few years before moving on to the Dallas Cowboys. So keep your eye on Sharif Floyd potentially getting a job here in Pittsburgh. And then also Joey Porter Sr. is also making his case to join Mike McCarthy's coaching staff here in Pittsburgh. He was on Media Row in San Francisco this week making his case to why he would love to join the Steelers coaching staff yet again, saying this: I thought about just getting back in the building. I feel like my presence is needed just to be back in the building, but to the powers that be, they know I want to come back home. I would love to coach. I never wanted to stop coaching, but I can take any role. I just feel like having older Steelers in the building to show how it's supposed to go, what it looks like, it ain't gonna hurt nobody. And I'm sure Porter would love an opportunity to be in the same building and go to work with his son every single day and see him develop over the course of his NFL career. Now, Porter did coach outside linebackers and was a defensive assistant under Mike Tomlin from 2014 to 2018. So, he knows the racket. He's been a coach before. And honestly, I would welcome Porter's return to the staff. Now, maybe, obviously, you've already hired 2 guys to coach outside linebackers, so he would be doing a different role here on the coaching staff. But even if it's just like a defensive senior assistant or something like that, somebody that understands the Steeler way, somebody that understands what the standard is here in Pittsburgh and can help Mike McCarthy implement that standard here in the Steel City, I would welcome Joey Porter Sr. Returning to the coaching staff in some capacity. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Would you hire Joey Porter Sr. to the Steelers coaching staff? And if so, for what role? Let me know what your guys' ideas are down there in the comments section. Now, earlier, guys, I put out a video of Mike McCarthy free agency targets. You guys can check out that video. It's up on the channel right now. I'll put the chip to that one in the top right if you want to check that out. Had 5 players that were former Cowboys that played under McCarthy that could be on their way to Pittsburgh this offseason. But silly Sperry, I forgot to mention Trevon Diggs in that video. So I want to mention him here during today's News and Rumors segment because I think there's a decent chance that Diggs could be a Pittsburgh Steeler in 2026. Diggs is only 27 years old. He brings great size and length to the table, similar to Joey Porter Jr. Also, he was drafted in the second round by McCarthy in his first season there in Dallas in the second round, of course. And then he's a 2-time Pro Bowler, and he was a first-team All-Pro back in 2021. Now, the problem with Trevon Diggs and why I honestly wouldn't love this signing if the Pittsburgh Steelers end up making it is that he hasn't made a Pro Bowl since 2022. And frankly, I think he's been one of the worst coverage corners in the league for quite a while now. I think he gets burnt down the field quite a bit. The thing about Diggs is that he is extremely aggressive and he is always hunting for interceptions, but with his aggressiveness also comes an ability to get burnt on double moves. And I think the book has been out on Trevon Diggs for quite a while, where a lot of these offenses, when they're going through their weekly game plan, they're like, okay, how can we get Trevon Diggs to bite on a double move so we can get a one-play touchdown, right? And I think a lot of these teams have been able to do that because Trevon Diggs has not been able to adjust his game for the way offenses are trying to attack him. But with that said, he does fit the physical profile of what Patrick Graham usually looks for in CBs. He's got long arms. He's got good size. He's somebody that has played a lot in man coverage. Patrick Graham likes to play man when he has the cornerbacks to play man. And he also has a history with Joe Witt Jr. Obviously, Witt was the cornerbacks coach there in Dallas when Trevon had his big ascension with the Dallas Cowboys back in 2021. And, it's certainly possible that relationship could could land Trevon Diggs here in Pittsburgh. And honestly, it's not my favorite idea because I don't like the lack of discipline in Diggs' game. And I think with some of the injuries that he's had, he's not the same athlete he was when he was coming out of Alabama. And I'd probably rather go in a different direction if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers. But now let's talk about Aaron Rodgers to finish up today's show, as the rumor mill is starting to churn here during Super Bowl week, as people are once again bringing up the idea of Aaron Rodgers leaving the Pittsburgh Steelers to join his old buddy Kevin O'Connell there in Minnesota to be the Vikings quarterback in 2026. Now, there's been some reports that have been floated out there that Kevin O'Connell wanted a veteran quarterback in 2025 last offseason. He wanted to either bring back Sam Darnold or Daniel Jones, or he wanted to bring in Aaron Rodgers. He did not think J.J. McCarthy was ready, but Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, the GM at the time that's now been fired, by the way, wanted to go with J.J. McCarthy, and that was the final decision that they ended up making. And, of course, they ended up regretting that decision because Sam Darnold was playing in the Super Bowl this weekend, and Aaron Rodgers helped lead the Steelers to the playoffs, whereas the Vikings were sitting on their ass when January came around. But now Chris Long went on Chris Sims and Mike Florio's show on NBC and Peacock this week, and he threw out the idea that he likes the idea of Aaron Rodgers playing in Minnesota. And everybody seems to love the idea of Aaron Rodgers playing in Minnesota because, he would complete the Favre, narrative and all this different stuff, and he gets to play with his old buddy Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, all that different stuff. It would certainly be a story, no question about it. But I think I would be pretty surprised if at this point Aaron Rodgers decided to A, come back next year, and B, play for the Minnesota Vikings. All right, I think it's possible he comes back, but I think if he comes back, he's going to stick to where he's more comfortable and where he's established, and that's here in Pittsburgh with Mike McCarthy as his head coach. And, the reason for why I think Rodgers won't go to Minnesota is, why would he start over again, right? He just had to start over with a new team with the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. He got established here. He's created friendships here, all these different things. Why would he want to start a brand new life for just one more season there with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota? I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense to me. Rodgers has talked about the idea of continuity, and the longer that you are in a certain place, running this similar style of offense, the better that you can perform. I just don't know if he wants to completely start over again, and especially when he's got a place here in Pittsburgh that clearly wants him back, has many of the same players that he played with last year coming back as well, an offense that he's super comfortable with in Mike McCarthy, that's going to run a lot of the stuff that he loves to run with the West Coast quick game sort of stuff from shotgun. That is McCarthy's bread and butter. I mean, it's the perfect fit for what Aaron Rodgers likes to do. So there's a ton of comfortability here in Pittsburgh. There's not a ton of comfortability there in Minnesota. So I think that if he chooses to come back, he's going to come back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. But he might be saying, but Jack, Minnesota's weapons are better. They have Justin Jefferson. They have Jordan Addison. They've got all these pieces. And they got Brian Flores to run their defense. Why would he want to come back to Pittsburgh if Minnesota is offering him a chance to be their quarterback? Now, I think, certainly right now, and certainly last year, Minnesota's weapon set was better than what the Pittsburgh Steelers had to offer. I mean, I'm on record saying that the wide receiver room was probably the biggest thing holding the Steelers' offense back and Aaron Rodgers last year. But that problem is easily fixable this year. You've got a lot of cap space to go out and get a veteran receiver. You've got some really great draft picks that you can go out and get a really good young receiver that can help you out immediately. All right, like next year we could be looking at a completely brand new and really, really good wide receiver trio here in Pittsburgh. And honestly, obviously we don't have a Justin Jefferson here, but it can rival Minnesota's weapons heading into next year if they do things the right way. So I do think if Rodgers comes back next year, and I think that he will come back. I think that if he were retiring, he probably would have come to a decision already. But I think he will be coming back. And if he does, I think it's going to be as a Steeler. All right. I think he wants to cement his legacy, as short as it is here in Pittsburgh. One more season with people that he has spent a lot of years with, Mike McCarthy, James Campen, and others, and continue to build his relationship with Pat Freiermuth, which was really budding at the end of last season. Darnell Washington, DK Metcalf, and then some of the new pieces that they bring in here. I think that he's excited to see what a year two here in Pittsburgh would look like, and honestly, I'm excited to see what that would look like as well, especially if they can fix the wide receiver position. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments. What % chance does Rodgers have of being a Viking in 2026? Put it on a scale of 0, meaning no chance he's a Viking next year, to 100, meaning he's already packing his bag. He's heading up north. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. That'll be it for today's edition of Steelers News and Rumors, brought to you by Chat Sports. I'm going to have more great Steelers content coming your way over Super Bowl weekend, guys. So if you don't want to miss any of that, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.